I really appreciate you coming. I think like the insight that you have into the world of mass communication and all the experience that you've had, I think, people are going to definitely take a lot away from this conversation. So I think, look, to start off, let's go ahead and talk about you professionally, like, what classes you teach,
Okay.
the, profession that you're in, and ultimately, the experience that you've had over the years doing mass communication.
Okay. So I'll kind of start from reverse. I'll go current to reverse, I guess.
Okay, cool.
This is my 14th year teaching at Northwest Vista. I've been there 21 years. It'll be 22 next spring.
Okay.
And those 14 years were a series of teaching on Saturday mornings, public speaking classes, business professional communication classes, how to network with other people, how to really play the room, be yourself.
Okay.
And just be confident, in the person that you desire to become and that you are currently invested in developing. So for about 3 or 4 years, I kind of grinded. I was, I was kind of the teacher who took whatever classes,
Okay.
8 a.m., 9:30, the ones that no one wanted to teach. Yeah. And I'm here now. So, I started as an intern teaching for 2 years. I actually gave up my previous full-time job at the time it was called a coordinator of the Welcome Center. Mm-hmm. So when students walk in, they didn't know what to do, how to get started, stuff like that. I managed a team of people, advisors that would do all that. And not that I really, got burnt out. I loved what I did there. I networked with people.
Yeah.
I found a professor in speech, Dr. Edgar Garza, and I owe my life to this guy because he's the one who saw something inside of me. I came to his class once to kind of do a little spiel on how to register for next semester, whatnot. So long story short, he said, you should come and teach for us. I have a position open in the speech department. And I took him up on it. I said, I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know if I'm really going to like this or if I'm good at it. And he says, trust me, you're going to thrive. You're going to find that you like it and you're going to love it so much. You're going to stay. And, to this day, I'm still here. And so as that kind of evolved, we had a mass communications professor who was tenured. She had been doing this for years. She was a well-renowned, journalist, worked for PBS. Her name is Dr. Linda Cuellar. And I owe a lot to Linda myself. There's a lot of people they'll come into your life and they will take the time and the effort to help nourish what they see inside of you. So she was another one of those individuals who helped me out a lot. And she retired. She said, I'm taking my retirement. I'm going from here. And she's like, do you want to, help me out? You want to take over? And sure enough, I love mass communication. That's kind of really what I went to school for. Okay. Because a lot of communications programs will incorporate both mass communication and then, human communication. So being I went to UTSA for my master's, I was able to do both. So I did that for, a few years. I took over the mass comm department. Started slow, just started teaching the intro classes, developed a media literacy class, which I'm teaching now, and an advertising class. Okay. And lo and behold, the department just started growing, and we've had a great time. We've developed a film class. It's now become a core curriculum class, which has doubled our enrollment over the last, I'd say, 2 years. And so we've had to hire more people. And with that, where I'm at now, I feel like I'm able to go back into the classroom more. I developed a podcast club with the help of a founding student. And just over the last 3 years, man, it's just been this culmination of all the little things I was able to do. And now it's kind of the spillover where students want to do more of what I assigned them to do in classes. Yeah. So the podcast was one of them. Yeah. And now you have the NVC Wildcast. Yeah. And you have students running their own show and putting together stuff, and you've been a huge part of that. And I feel like even our experience today, like this setup you've got and everything is kind of like another spillover. So I always tell people, like, you know, I feel like I'm at the top of my career.
Yeah.
And reflecting back on all the things I've done over the last couple years. And it's not to toot my own horn. It's just, you know, really what I desired to do was to help people.
Yeah.
Help people get out of poverty, help people to realize their, you know, their destiny and expand on their skill sets. And to graduate and get out in the workforce, or in this case, the last year, we've had a significant amount of students in the club that are going to Houston, University of Houston. We've got Brown University, for crying out loud. Like, we've got, you know, folks going to Texas Tech, A&M San Antonio. Just, there's a lot of really cool stories.
Yes.
You know, that have happened. And that's, in a nutshell, kind of where I'm at career wise. But it all kind of started when I was at UTSA, a curious, you know, young buck.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with life. And it just it struck me that UTSA accepted me. And at first I was an English major.
Okay.
And I just thought, you know, I like to write, you know, maybe I'll be a journalist or public relations person. I also love music, love movies. And I just, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do, man.
Yeah. And
so an advisor was like, well, why don't you major in communications? It's kind of, you know, it's a little bit of writing, a little bit of speaking. It's got some music. So if you want to go in that route. So I trusted what she said. And I was like, all right, well, let's declare communications. And then when I was about to graduate, I landed a job with the TV station.
Okay.
News 4 San Antonio was the place I landed, with Don Harris, Dave Chancellor, who's now in the mornings. I see him every morning now. So like, I work with that dude.
Yeah.
You know, and got to meet some cool people. Met people from 98.5 The Beat while I was there. Did a lot of football games. Got to do the Spurs. I always tell students, man, I was there with Manu Ginobili.
There you go.
Had the mic and everything.
With the long hair?
With the long hair. Yeah, man. The vintage Manu.
Vintage Manu.
Yeah, back in 2004.
Yo, he was like the first Kyrie with the handles and the shimmies and like the shot, bro. He was... Vintage Manu was legit, bro. He was legit.
I mean, a lot of the moves you see today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Steps,
the Euro step, yeah, everything. Like he was like the first one to like really implement that like flashy, you know, different style of basketball.
Yeah,
yeah, he's cool. He's a cool dude. He's a super cool dude.
I always tell that story, man, because you know it's like creating these core moments, these core memories.
Yeah,
you know, they always say like do it with your family, yes, of course, but why not do it also when you're making a living?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I look for. I look for students to, instead of asking them a lot of times like, what are you studying for? What are your major? I said, what kind of core memories do you want to make? In your profession?
Wow, that's good.
You know?
Yeah, I think something that you touched on, which has benefited my life, and I've recognized it as well, is certain people come into your situation, to your life, and ultimately nurture you and see the potential that you have. And they want to like come beside you and pull that out. And I feel like I've been very blessed in this situation with Vista, and throughout my life, where I found myself in that very same situation, like whether it's you or other individuals that I've met prior to coming to Vista, just individuals seeing the potential that I had that I didn't see in myself, and just being like, hey, like holding me accountable and allowing me giving me the opportunity. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is like you want an opportunity, and when that opportunity presents itself, it's awesome when you can take advantage of it. When you have those individuals who come behind you and help and ultimately provide that assistance and all that foresight that maybe you don't have, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely resonate with what you said there, because I think that's been like the epitome of my life. Like there's been people who see the, I guess, potential I have and just, you know, pour into me, and it's like, I don't know what you see, but I appreciate it, you know? And it's just like taking that leap of faith and be like, okay, I trust in what you're saying, and it's helped out significantly. So
That's good.
yeah, it's super cool. So let's talk about. I want to get into mass communication, and ultimately, let's break down what does that entail. How does that affect us on a daily basis, and the way that we process or ultimately perceive the world around us.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
Yeah.
Like, I have to have my A game for that one.
Yeah.
The mass communication is a huge, concept, right? It's almost unfair to give us a title that's so, broad in scope.
Yeah.
Because at the level of when you're reaching tens of thousands of people, as a creator, as a sender, as an encoder of messaging, it can become really daunting.
Yes.
And intimidating for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the fact is it's the study of those processes, right? It's the study of how one considers their mass diverse audience enough to be able to craft a really clever message in today's world that'll attract a lot of attention, right? Because if I put out a message on Twitter or wherever it might be, and no one sees it but two people, is it really mass communication? And no, it's not. You use the media forum to do it, but your audience has to be a mass audience, right? It has to have some sort of potentially mass influence on on the agenda or what people are talking about. And a lot for hundreds of years, thousands of years, in fact, it's been dominated by celebrities or well-known people in their circles. But flip the script, and you have technology that lets us publish and make something in a house, right? In a studio that you make that breaks down the barriers to entry.
Yes.
In this process. So it's become significantly accessible.
Yes.
Right? To people like me and you who may not have the bigger budgets, who may not have per se the celebrity status, right? But it's an area of study that considers the old, right, the historical legacy medias, and figuring out how we can learn from those models to develop this new digital model that we have, where people like me and you could become mass communicators, and just how much power that has, right? And how much you're able to make a living now.
And like one thing you said, like the barrier to entry is very low, and the powers that be, can't really control it. It's open to so many individuals with so many different perspectives. And I don't think, at least from my perspective, I don't think that when individuals were developing the internet or these mass communication channels, they thought that so many people would have this opportunity to have their voice heard, and it gives, like you said, individuals like ourselves who don't have a celebrity platform or a high budget to express opinions and ultimately grow that, like if you scale it to however far you can with the resources that you have.
I was reading a book one time, and it was talking about ways to sort of make additional income, and how to create your own brand and so forth. And it was kind of cool because you obviously think, as you begin to study mass communication and the messaging that happens in the world, and just how much gravitational pull the Pope has, or the president, or whoever, who's in a place of power.
Absolutely.
Right? But in order to sort of exercise your ability to make a living, right, and actually monetize by making a podcast or whatever the case is, you only really have to have 1,000 followers, imagine if they gave you the CPMs that you needed
Yeah.
for YouTube. Imagine if they donated,
Yeah.
$100 a year or something like that. It broke down the math, and it was like, you could make a decent living
Yes.
just by becoming a mass communicator, having 1,000 followers, having people follow you for whatever the case is. And so you build your own communities.
Yes.
And that's exactly what's been happening over the last 20 or so years with the internet. And it's become this sort of fragmented audience base that have their own internet spaces.
Yes.
Right. So
they're in their own
different
ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, is it really still mass communication?
Yeah.
It could be personalized mass communication.
Yeah.
Right. So I always tinker with the name. And I always let students know, don't let this title put you in a box.
Okay.
Because it's ever evolving. It's a process, and like any process, it's going to change. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And how does that? Because now, when someone has influence and they're speaking to the masses, they have an audience. How do you feel? And like, is there studies that have shown, does this have a significant influence on our perceptions of the world? Do you feel like our generation, or like, us now, we tend to maybe not formulate our own ideas or use critical thinking as much because we hear a soundbite from somebody that maybe we, that has influence and that we admire, and we just run with their ideas without really like checking to see if it's accurate or,
Well, I mean, there's definitely echo chambers that exist.
Yeah.
If you essentially, it's easy to show loyalty to some person or by liking their content and revisiting it and spending time there.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the birthplace of the algorithm, right? And so if you give it indicators to suggest you like this kind of content, it's going to obviously feed you more. So it has become a lot easier for influence to take place. So for ideologies to kind of permeate into a person's subconsciousness, and then they, can be influenced by that. So yeah, there's obviously some individual human studies that have happened and helped to inform our teaching and the authors that write the textbooks that we use for the class. So yeah, it's a very theoretical based topic or question, I think.
Okay.
That requires a little bit more like specific, case studies.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can observe as a basic human being in today's society, right? Like just how much of an influence other people have on peer groups.
Yes.
And you question like, well, where did that hairstyle come from? How did it get popular with the youngins? Like I'm sitting at a football game last night, right? And I'm at Ferris Stadium here in San Antonio, and I was sitting with my son, and I see like heads in front of me, Hispanic, young men like me, same kind of thoughts and ideas going on in there. And I just love youth, right? I love seeing the youth, man. And I think that's why I still teach. Is I get a lot of 18, 17-year-old cats in my classroom, and I identify with them. Yeah. Because I too was, I felt like I would say I was a trendsetter with Echo and Jinkos and things like that. Yeah. I was like always the first to buy Filas and things like that. I wanted to be that guy. Yeah. Right. But I also was a follower, and I looked to see what was on the rap videos, and I see starter jackets. I wanted one, right? And so that has to come from somewhere. Yes. And it's the media. Yeah. Right? It's the advertisements. And it's not just commercial spots we're talking here. It's the incorporation, it's the infusion of brand, right? Yeah. Inside of those experiences that you have with media, and now it's a plethora. Yeah. Right. Because in my generation, it was what's hot. Well, go to BET or MTV. Yeah. Like you would see that. Yes. And then you would want to purchase those items that were were being shown in the video. Whereas now, again, a lot of this hype beast, the kind of the Supreme brand kind of stuff. I learn a lot. I learn a lot by observing other humans, especially the youth, because they have their finger on the pulse, man. And it's just a lot of fun because I was telling my wife this morning, I'm like, man, I don't know how they dig that haircut, but it's there. Like it's like this bowl cut and everyone's got a perm and it's like it's flared out in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not Vanilla Ice, but it's something.
It's not the mullet though.
No.
Yeah.
It's like a bowl kind of shaped thing.
Yeah, I'm working on the mullet right now, dog.
Okay.
Yeah, once it's done, I'll take off the hat, but it's still in the process. I'm trying to like let the back grow a little longer. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
But no.
But yeah, it's right.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's culture.
Yeah,
right?
cultural.
It's mass culture.
Absolutely.
Infused in the study. And that's where the fun parts come in, is seeing that. So,
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I wanna come get to that point. We'll talk about like your upbringing, and then like I know you mentioned you really enjoy music and fashion, and I want to kind of pick your brain about that. But before we get off mass communication, the last thing I wanted to talk about was like finding sources that are credible. With mass communication, with the rise of AI, with the rise of so many different platforms and everybody having a voice, it becomes a little bit challenging to know what's accurate information and what's potentially biased or skewed to push a certain narrative. And in your expertise, what do you think is the best way to combat that and to get factual information that you can use and think critically about and understand the situation in its totality? Because we have a bunch of scenarios going around, whether it's political things going around the world or here in the United States, or it's just pop culture or everyday life. Like there's these perceptions that maybe are not rooted in like complete reality. And I want to get your take on that.
Yeah. That's a big ball of wax.
Yeah.
But it's the reality we live in.
And that's the reality that we live in, and we all have to deal with it.
Right. Well, there's a lot to be said about misinformation happening, and the definition truly resides in distinguishing it from disinformation. Okay. The dis, I always tell students, like, you remember back in the day, we used to say like, "Oh, homeboy got dissed."
Yeah.
Like that. I'm OG. Like y'all have to adapt to my slang because I'm not changing it.
Yes.
But I will adapt to yours.
Yes.
And so I say, it's like, like when back in the day we say, there was a rap battle and so got dissed.
Yes.
Right. Hard.
Yep.
That was on purpose. It was intentional.
Yeah.
So disinformation means someone is going there intentionally in that space to put something out there to deceive someone, well knowing that that's what they're there to do. Misinformation is the phenomenon of every news agency, post social media, post instant Twitter feeds to be first, right? And even then, back before all that, breaking news, whoever broke the news first on television, just like we saw, with ESPN and trades and things like that, they want to be first to say it, because in their eyes, in the marketplace as well, they're credible, right?
Brings eyeballs.
Right. So misinformation happens when you have an environment where there's competitors always wanting to be first, right? So if the news is breaking, let the dust settle.
Okay.
Give it a couple days. You may not be the first to know of any updates, but at least you'll have the full picture, the full context.
Yeah.
And that's with any story.
And the media cycle is turning so fast. Like we go from one story to the next so quick that it's like, wait, we haven't even finished discussing it. Like all the information hasn't even come out about this yet. Yeah. Like, can we get the information first? And like you said, it's almost like it's difficult because it's like they want to turn the page before the dust has even settled. Like, let that be the first thing. The first thing that comes out is gospel. And now it's like, let's go on to the next thing. And, you know, it is a very challenging thing to educate yourself and be, you know, be mindful of what's going on, for sure.
The news cycle is a revolving door.
Yeah.
It's like a movie, right? They don't want people to get bored.
Yeah.
Because then they won't watch it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great analogy, for sure.
Yeah. But the consequence of that is we never really get the deep dives into what truly, I think, matters for most people, which is, you know, the economy, right? Job markets, potential threats to our national security. What is it? You know, we don't want the tea that's just going to lead to arguments. I think as a nation, we really desire to know the truth and to know if someone is lying.
Yes.
We need to be able to pinpoint that. So I guess old school, for me, like when we get to like news literacy in my classes, we'll primarily talk about, you know, bias existing amongst all the agencies that have existed for, you know, since the birth of the free press, right? And, you know, I had a student flat out just tell me, you stop beating around the bush. Can you just tell me what news apps you download? And so I hesitated and I said, well, this is just me. Yeah. I said, but think about it. Historically, the Associated Press was created out of a partnership between 6 newspapers in the New York City area. Okay. And they wanted to figure out a way to leverage the telegraph, right, when it first came out, because again, they wanted to be first. And so, but even before that, there were docking places in New York that would bring news from the old English part of the world, right, like England. And so there was this agreement that they would come together and they would put their wallets together and they would figure out a way to get world news, right, faster and more accurately. So over its history, right, and you also have to look at who they hire, right, who are the people writing for them, what journalistic ethics do they practice from, you know, from beginning to now, right, the totality of their work. I mean, any news is going to have some form of bias, but at the same time, are they focused on fact-driven or fact-based reporting, or is it that plus a little bit of the salsa, right? Or is it just strictly the salsa, right? To kind of, you know, provoke you. And so a lot of times we look at those major news agencies that have existed over time, and then we'll kind of do lateral reads on a story to say, okay, how did this agency write about it? What's their headline? What picture did they use compared to these others? Yeah. And there's resources for that, and it's a way to approach it from a non political standpoint, because we're really just looking at the overall spectrum here. Yeah. Like we're doing a strong lateral read to see how we can best get the basic information that's accurate that we need, and how do we verify that? We do a lateral read and we see across the board what's going on.
There you go.
So yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's actually very good information, and
it takes work.
Yeah, practical. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing. It's practical information, things that you can do, you know, in your everyday life. But you know, you got to do the legwork. You got to do the work and actually go out there and read a couple news sources and kind of try to see where the biases are, and ultimately understand that, you know, you thinking critically about it is the most important thing. Understanding that, you know, there are going to be in certain circumstances individuals who, you know, have an agenda, or, you know, we all have our biases. We all have our things that we perceive with a specific, you know, perspective. And it's like trying to take that out of the situation, look at the facts, and ultimately remove the emotion of it as well. A lot of times you get emotional when you hear a story, you know, or these news stories try to pull out an emotion from you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times if you get an emotion, you act on it, you know,
Yeah.
or it does something to you. So yeah, I think, you know, what you said was very practical and something that we can all do.
Just something real quick to add on that.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the business model, how they're funded.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And if that agency is highly dependent on commercial advertising sales,
yes,
there's more of a tendency for the news story to become sensationalized in some form or fashion. And that, you know, every news organization that depends on corporate advertisement is guilty of that in some aspect, right? Yeah. Versus a nonprofit or one that's publicly funded by tax dollars. You begin to see the different models. And it's really like, tell students, like, if you don't like this hyper sensationalism that's going on, you know, it's going to take all of us to begin to maneuver into different routes there. Yeah.
It's a saying that holds true from generation to generation. Follow the money, you know, like,
easier said than done, but yes, you can.
Yeah. All right. Let's pivot from there and get into, you know, like I said, let's talk about your upbringing. Talk about, you know, I know you mentioned music, something that you're really big into, and fashion. Where did you find the passion for that, the inspiration, and what was it like growing up as Tim Molina?
Okay. I feel like I can relax now. I'm not on the teacher seat no more.
Yeah.
I'm doing a personal hot take.
There we go.
I like that. Man, where do I start? Well, I will say, and you know, I just finished first week of classes. I'll tell students a little bit about me. I used to, you know, yap about myself a lot, but I try to like talk more about student success stories. But since you asked, I'm a first generation college student.
Nice.
Student of color, you know, and I'm proud to be Latino. I identify more with that term.
Yeah.
Mexican American kind of feels too long, right? Chicano was actually, I learned from Cheech Marin that it was a derogatory term.
Okay.
That was used in the LA area.
Okay.
To differentiate like people actually born in Mexico living in LA or in the LA area to reference Mexican Americans.
Okay.
Right, because Chico, right, little Mexican, Chicano, that's where that came from. So I learned that a few years back, and I was like, okay, I don't want to use that anymore. I don't want to use Hispanic because that's too overarching. That's a governmental census term.
Yeah.
So, you know, I identify as Latino male.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess with my upbringing of feeling to some extent like not seen, you know, in elementary, middle school, kind of just, you know, pushed along. I was a relatively standard student. I wasn't like a standout student. I was a standard student. You know, got A's, a couple of B's here. Never really got a C because I couldn't bring a C home.
Yeah.
Dad was like, "Don't bring a C home.
Yeah.
Don't whatever you do." He never really said that, but it was just kind of the standard.
Yeah, my parents were the same way. Growing up, I had friends who maybe like were failing a class or, you know, just not getting stuff done. And I'm like, how do you go home? Like, how do you go home and just like talk to your parents about this? Because my parents were just like a B that was like borderline, like 81. They'd be like, you need to lift that up because you're borderline. Yeah. I'm just like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was just an understanding, but yeah, I remember a fourth grade teacher always telling me, she was mean, man. She was a math teacher. Her name was Miss Jansen, bro.
Oh, when you remember the name, that's how you know
it wasn't a good memory, dude. It was like I learned math though. I learned math, and she was a no nonsense woman. I remember her saying, man, like if we weren't paying attention or she'd ask a question like about it, you know, whatever math we worked on, she goes, if you don't wake up and the parade is going to pass you by.
Yeah.
I said, damn. I said, well, first of all, what parade are we in, miss? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. What are you talking about? And then years later, I hear the term, you know, wake up, you know, or stay woke, you know, don't fall asleep, or it just, you know, there's just a lot of, I don't know. That's like the closest thing I came to trauma.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm blessed to say that my parents, you know, they've been married 50 years.
Wow.
Probably, I think 51 now. My parents were always, you know, loving, caring, you know, took care of me.
Yeah.
You know, they made sure that my brother and I didn't have any struggle.
Awesome.
And kind of going back to the fashion thing, like my pops would buy me, like, you know, brand name stuff, but it had to be on clearance.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like you want to go to Foley's. Back then we had Foley's at the mall. Now it's Macy's. He's like, you want to go to the mall? You want to get your polo shirt or something? And he's like, you know,
Go find the clearance
go find
section.
It's got to be on sale somewhere.
Yeah.
And so now, even now, like I won't buy stuff that's not on sale.
Dude, everybody complimented me on this shirt and like some of my other shirts. $10 at Hollister, dog. Like,
Oh,
I'll
nice.
I go to the back, find the clearance section,
Yeah,
snatch up the
man.
deals, bro.
Just a couple of steps long, you know, you just go out in the back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I picked up on like a lot of like minimalization
Yes.
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
That has served me well. And just, you know, it's also reminded me to stay humble, you know, and know that my dad was he was a migrant worker for his time in like as a teenager. And he tells me stories all the time. So I didn't really realize it, but those stories resonated with me so much that I didn't want to take anything for granted.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, when it was time to go to college, I felt like I needed to make my own lane.
Yeah.
You know, I needed to have this new life that was, you know, just me, and I had to go figure it out. Like I wanted to see if I could do it on my own. So at 18, I applied to SMU, which is Southern Methodist in Dallas. Super expensive. So I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to put that much debt on my parents. And so I got accepted there, and then I applied to UTSA. And I didn't even know UTSA existed. I thought it was just UT Austin.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. Like, oh, I can go to UT, but I can also go UTSA. San Antonio seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. For whatever rhyme or reason, I chose to come here, and with the intention of always kind of like, okay, when I graduate, I'll go back home.
Yeah.
Not like being very ignorant to the fact that, yeah, I could probably meet someone, and you know, and I did. I met my wife.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, we've made this our home. But yeah, growing up, man, it was I was kind of considered a latchkey kid. My mom and dad worked a lot. They worked for life insurance companies. They would have a long commute, but halfway through was to that commute was my grandma's house.
Okay.
So I grew up in Grand Prairie, Texas, and Oak Cliff, Texas is right next to where we were at, right before you get into the downtown area.
Yeah.
So and that's where my parents pretty much grew up their teenage years, and then they met each other. But Oak Cliff is like, if you live in the DFW area, you know, like Oak Cliff is like, okay, you gotta watch your back a little bit. Like, it's not, you know, there's certain parts of town where, you know, there's Latinos, and there's the Mexicans, and there's the blacks, and it was very, you know, very segregated. Yeah. But grandma's house was in the Mexican part of town, and you know, we got to grow up with ice cream trucks. We played football outside, and shirts and skins, and it was pretty gully. Like it was cool though. Like I can claim it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I was like, man, I never really got to see my mom and dad till they came home from work. And some days we loved it there so much that they would keep us there. Yeah, you know. And so I could say I grew up. A large part of my life was about Oak Cliff and lowrider cars. Like it was, there was culture there. Yeah, you know, it was. It felt cool, and even kind of going back there, I feel like a lot of nostalgia. Yeah, you know, and a lot of my family is now they've moved out of Oak Cliff, but they still live in the area. DFW is essentially my home, because that's where like 20 something cousins are. Yeah. And you can never see them all in one trip. No, at all. You kind of just have to like strategize. Who haven't I seen, and all that. Or
try to get together where you can just like knock 7 birds with one stone. Get everybody together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always a kicker. Right. That's man. I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I grew up with a huge family.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I miss them a lot. I miss them, dearly. But I know that with moving to San Antonio and now with social media, like we can essentially keep up with each other.
Yeah.
We can tell our own stories,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a good upbringing, man. Like I
Nice.
feel like there were some things that happened in my life, like with my family. We had, no family is free from drama.
Yeah, of course.
But it was a good experience, and I think that's what's shaped me.
Of course.
Because when students come in and I know them to a point where I know something ain't right, and I can see it.
Yeah.
So for me, that's been my superpower. Is like, okay, how did you grow up? How did you, how did people treat you? How did you want to be treated? And how did you want to be taught?
Yes.
That you never really got to do or experience. That's what I want to like create for my classroom.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Yeah, we don't realize how much our upbringing shapes and forms our opinions, perceptions, our habits, things that we become a young adult or, in our mid 20s, and we're like, why do I do that? Why do I react like that to this situation? It's like, oh, I kind of saw that from my mom or my dad or my cousins, Yeah. I can relate in so much that like, my upbringing there was challenges. And like you said, no family is void of drama or, their own, situations. But I'm very fortunate that I had individuals who, cared about me. And ultimately, my immediate family, my stepdad and my mom were just such great examples of like working hard. They were very much like your parents. Like you didn't see them very often during the day because they were just grinding. My stepdad had gone to prison before he had met my mom, and he was in prison for 4 years. And so when he got out, like it was difficult to find work that could sustain a family. And my mom had just got pregnant with my youngest brother, so after he was born, it was, she wasn't working at the moment. So I saw him like work his ass off to provide for 3 boys and a wife. And it was like, watching that, like I said, shapes your perception, and like, seeing somebody who made mistakes in the past, but then was able to rectify them and ultimately not make excuses, like own to be like, hey, yeah, I fucked up, but I'm going to change it and I'm going to fix it. And I'm not going to let my circumstances ultimately dictate the rest of my life, and to watch my mom come beside him and ultimately like, have that faith that he could do it, that's a lot of responsibility, especially when me and Brandon, my younger brother, the one who's right below me, weren't his kids, like he stepped into a situation where, he had to provide for 2 boys that weren't his biological children. To watch that was very very formative to my perception. And as we continued to grow, my mom went back to the workforce, and she worked her ass off, and watching them do that, I questioned it for so many years. Like when I got older, I was like, why do I have such a strong work ethic? Like, why do I not, like, I don't make excuses.
Right.
And it's like one of the things that I have to grow in is like an empathy for people who maybe didn't have that, who like sometimes maybe they get a little bit discouraged when things don't go their way, or like failure hits them a lot harder.
Right.
And for me, it's like water off a duck's back. I'm just like, you just keep persevering, you just keep trucking forward, and like you get knocked down, you get back up.
Yeah. My madrina, my mother, my godmother who baptized me, she taught, even so I would hang out a lot with my cousins and we'd spend the night with each other. And, like they lived in different towns. So it was always cool to like go hang out with them on the weekend. And in essence, I got to see how they were parented.
Yeah.
And like my dad's sister, which is my godmother, rest in peace. She was such a resilient person, man. Like she went through a lot growing up, and I just remember seeing her like persevering, like you said, to raise her kids, make sure they go to college, even though, she got divorced when they were like in middle school. I saw her, and I think you learn so much just from observing your adult parents.
Yes.
And, in essence, she was like my co-parent,
Mm-hmm.
right? That it really does shape you when you hit a hard like block in the road, right?
Yes, when life comes at you, because it does.
Yeah.
It comes for all of us.
Yeah.
And it punches you in the mouth and you're like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You dig deep and like you lean on those experiences. You see somebody like, oh, I saw somebody who went through something like this or went through difficulty, and it's like they overcame it. What was the attitude that they had? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's one of those things where like, we're very fortunate to have seen that.
Yeah. And I think as a parent now, I'm learning I don't always have to have that conversation with my son to explain to him like, hey, you need to work hard.
They're watching.
Yeah. And so my oldest son, I'm so proud of him. I told him this morning, I'm like, dude, I love the guy you're becoming. Like, I just love it. And, I just want you to know that like he gets up like at 5:30 in the morning and it has to be a practice by like 6:45. He wants to be there at 6:30. He wants to be the first one in the door.
Let's go.
The last one to leave.
Let's go.
And like, man, you're privileged. Like,
what's his name?
His name's Andrew.
Andrew, let's go, Andrew. Come on.
Yeah,
you just put in that work.
Yeah, bro. And like, it's really cool to see that because you never really had to say anything.
Yeah.
You just had to show them.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. So, if I'm not mistaken, you hit a milestone this year with your marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
20 years, man.
20 years.
20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is some of the biggest challenges you've faced in those 20 years? Give two of the biggest challenges. Somebody that's, for those who are single or in a relationship and like, pursuing a marriage, what do they have to look forward to in that regard? Because obviously, things aren't always going to be perfect. Right, and when you marry someone, the challenges are going to come and they're going to come hard. And when you have two different individuals working together to pursue one goal, that can definitely become difficult.
Yeah. You're right. There's no beating around the bush there.
Yeah.
You have to negotiate a lot. Like, well, with us, our parents both, so her parents, she's from the Rio Grande Valley. Okay. So tip of Texas. And then mine, of course, are in Dallas. And so we never really, argue or anything, but it's kind of like, when are we going to see her parents, my parents, like the trips and all that stuff. We've had to kind of like negotiate, like when, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Now it's a lot of times we try to get them to come our way, but they're getting older, and so I think just in our relationship, and it's different for everybody, but like being away, right, from your core family it's a challenge. It is, right? And we had to raise our kids, send them to daycares. Thankfully, we found some good caregivers that we could take our kids to while we were at work. And that was tough, man. It's like you wish your mom or her mom could be here. I mean, they did come when they were born for a few weeks, but after that, they had to go back to their lives, right? So it's like you're really wishing that you had someone like that nearby.
Well, you're preaching to the choir because like we've talked about, I'm from Florida,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where like, when you said like, I miss, like you were talking about family, and like I miss them, I was like, dude, I know exactly what you mean. Like when things get tough, it's hard to not like be able to call, like not be able to go to your mom's house, or not be able to like go visit a cousin, and it becomes very challenging because you're just like, fuck, man, like you feel like you're battling this by yourself. Yes. And it's a challenge for sure, and it's one of those things where like, you don't realize how much you rely on them when things are hard, or even when things are good, like when you're going through successes in life and you have somebody there, like, I'm so proud of you. You're doing a great job. Keep persevering. And it's like, those who show up when you're succeeding and when you're like in a pit of despair, like you appreciate them so much because it's life is challenging, and sometimes like your mental will play a bigger toll on you than like what the situation entails.
That's right.
And to have people there to like walk beside you, it's second to none. It
is. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to have your family around. But at the same time, we found somewhat of a balance with that over the years. Our kids know their grandparents to a large extent. I think the other aspect too is just there are times when as an adult it's hard to make friends, man. It's like like you don't want to overextend yourself to someone. But we've also lately have found a good balance with that too, and
that's
it's just kind of trying to negotiate that venture with our own quality time. And if any advice, man, I don't know if you think about this or not, but you have to date each other like every as much as you can, and make time for each other and just listen, listen without saying, oh, I have to give this advice or I have to give this suggestion. Just be there to listen. And I always say, like, we always have each other, and our kids know that too. And what's really cool is like they see, like, our kids have their own friends now too. So I'm like, guys, don't forget about us. Like we're your parents. Don't just go in your room and play Xbox for 10 hours, right? Like, make a balance of that and let us know that you're, but they're both 16 or 15 and 12. And
it's that age, where like, they start to venture off and be like, I don't want to spend as much time with you as I used to. Right. And I think we all go through that, but I think one of the things is, like you said, is just showing that you still want to have that relationship goes a long way. To continue to like not take it personal. It's like, hey, I was that age. Like they're at that stage that I'm in now, and just letting them know, like, hey, I still love you, I still care about you. If you have time for me, like, let's I want to spend time with you, and ultimately, like, maybe setting things up weekly to do that, which is important, because if not, you let it slip away and 4 months go by and you haven't really had an in-depth conversation with your children, and you're like, what happened?
Man. And what was with that, like, to that thought, like, so my dad has recently had a medical emergency, in a sense, like his condition where he had to have a heart surgery. And I was there last weekend. He actually got to go home from the hospital, which was really good. And I was just like looking around, because my parents, they keep everything. They're keepsakes of all the videos, and they have like birthday cards. They've got posters. My dad has this game room, and he keeps everything, man. And that's like, to me, that's a testament, of his love, like, for me. And I gave him this book one time that it's about dad, and it was like real sentimental. And I remember one of those pages said, like, I thought as a kid I was going to need you, like, a lot, like the most or whatever. He's like, but as an adult, like, I need you even more. Yes. And I was like, man, that really hit hard. Yes. Because it's true.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And I'm asking my dad, like, all these advices and things like that. And like just trying to soak it all in, and just trying to, figure out what I can do with my own kids. And I think what was really cool about that, and this is it's kind of a invasion of privacy, but it's kind of a cool thing with TikTok. Like, it's listening to what you're saying. Or, to me, sometimes it's like telekinesis. So I was like, it gave me this video, man, and it said, this one guy talking goes, you don't have to talk to your kids about everything. He's like, you just have to show them, like, you're having fun as an adult. Yes. Because if they see that you're always serious and you're always like grinding and you're like, it doesn't look like you're having fun. He goes, to them, that's what success is going to equal. He's like, because they know you're successful. They know you pay the bills. You got a nice house. They live in a good area. Wow. They got 2 pools they can go to. Yeah. I mean, like, this whole, like, subdivision San Antonio area, like, you know what I mean? You know what it looks like, right? Like, you live in this area. To them, like, they know that they're doing okay. Yes. Right? They know that their parents are successful. But your job is to show them that you're having fun by continuing to try to be successful. And I was like, man,
That's
I
so
needed
good.
that, dude.
Yeah.
Like that was so good.
Yeah.
So
That was.
yeah.
That's awesome. All right, we're gonna touch one more subject, and I'll
Okay.
get you out of here because I know you got
Yeah.
you got things to do. All right, you're from the Dallas area.
Sir, D-Town. Yep. Big D.
Sorry for your
D-Town.
loss.
That's all right, man.
Let's
That's
talk
all right.
about Dallas sports in general. Like the Cowboys and the Mavericks both trading away the cornerstones of their franchise. Like what's the sentiment in Dallas right now?
Oh, yeah. Based on the text threads and conversations with cousins, yeah, I think the Luka trade obviously still it's sour.
Yeah.
You know, people are still like, why did you have to do that? But you know, it's kind of been remedied a little bit.
I was about to say, do you think with the whole Cooper Flag thing, it's kind of like people are maybe a little bit past it? Like, there's still potential for us to be really good. We got Anthony Davis coming back if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
You got Kyrie coming back if he can come back from the ACL injury and be healthy. And now you got a young player in Cooper Flag. Like, you know, the team's not trash.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, you just traded the what everybody thought was going to be the cornerstone of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy is no longer here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, like we were talking about news cycles earlier, it's no longer part of the cycle, and it's no longer part of the, you know, the subconsciousness of people, and you know, so yeah, I think regardless of what the outcome will be, people are still gonna hurt, you know.
Yeah.
I love Luka. He's my favorite player. Like he's still my favorite player. As much as he's a Laker, I'm like, no, I love the dude can ball. Like I love the guy,
and he's getting in
love to
shape.
watch
You
him.
saw him putting in that work.
He's doing something different. So I mean, that's what it's about. But we'll see. I like the fact that you know, Cooper Flag's coming in, and we got all these new guys. We'll see what happens, and they win the championship. Everybody forget about Luka.
Yeah,
right?
literally. Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, it's the other aspect to the Dallas life is, I guess, you grow up, you're born in Dallas, you know, I guess it's kind of a, you know, a cow stamp. Like you have to be a Cowboys fan. Like it's not a negotiation.
Yeah.
You have to, and yeah, it hurts, man. It hurts.
Yeah. No, I can, because you were, the last time they went, you were born in the 80s, right?
82.
Yeah. Okay. So you witnessed, like, so you were in your prime nostalgic era when they were winning Super Bowls.
It was a party every year. It was a party.
Irvin, damn, that's rough.
We had 92. I remember this quick story. My dad went to this. It's called Best Buy now, but it was called something else back then. And he had said, you know, we're gonna invite some family over, and for the NFC Championship game, we had to all watch it on this furniture looking TV. It was a screen packed in with like wood, and it was a piece of furniture.
Okay.
Right. Probably like a 20-inch screen, like real small, you know. But I remember watching us beat the 49ers that week.
Yeah.
And it was muddy. It was a great game. And then he's like, "That's it. We're getting a new TV." And I said, "Dad, are you sure we can afford it?" He's like, "You just won't eat lunch, you know, for a month or something like that." And he was just making jokes, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "We're gonna get a TV," and my mom was like, "Honey, are you sure? Like, can we afford this?" And it was a big, like 50-inch box TV.
Wow.
The speaker was on the bottom.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
You know, and you had to like get a dolly to roll this thing in there. And man, we were so excited. Like we were like, man, this was cool. You know, so we watched Super Bowl there that year. Invited all kinds of family. My dad has like 9 sisters and 1 brother.
Yeah.
My mom has like reverse, like 7 brothers. And but anyway, both sides of the family were there, and it was a good time. And you know, did that for a few years, and you know, had destiny. You know, it was destiny that the Cowboys are going to win every year. But you know, things change.
Yeah, no, it's been, and that's the thing is like I was telling you earlier, it feels like the Cowboys are the NFL's version of the Yankees. Like you are a wealthy team, you're worth billions of dollars, but when you don't win, Like nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like it's becoming so frustrating and like irritating to like hear Jerry Jones talk. It's like the same thing with like Brian Cashman or Aaron Boone. It's like every time you open your mouth, you just make it worse.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're not winning. You're clearly not putting your team in the best position to win, and you're not taking accountability. Like I would say probably from like 2010 to probably a little bit later than that. I would say like when Dak Prescott became the quarterback. Like I don't remember do you remember?
This is his 10th year. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So 2015 would probably like 14, 15 was probably when he started. Yeah. So I would say about that time, like there were legitimate opportunities for the Cowboys to maybe not win the Super Bowl, but at least like be in the NFC Championship game, competing, to go to the Super Bowl or competing in the Super Bowl. Right. Those teams, like those games that you guys lost to the Packers, the 49ers, those were good teams. Just such bad coaching decisions. And it's like it's like one of those things that everybody talks about. Jerry's like, he got rid of Jimmy Johnson, right? It's like, why get rid of what's working? Because you want to be the center of attention because somebody else is getting the acknowledgement of the success of the team and you're not. It's like his arrogance and his pride has ultimately led to what the Cowboys are now. Yeah. and it's very frustrating. And I can only imagine. I'm not a Cowboys fan.
You're not.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It's he probably makes way more money seeking and galvanizing attention and keeping it.
But that's what he said. Like a couple. I don't know if you heard the sound the other day.
Stuff like that.
The other day he said, he was like, if the Cowboys are not in the news, I'll stir it up. I'll get them in there.
He's one of those attention seekers and agenda setters.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the nature of the beast right now, and unfortunately, it's the team is suffering because poor decision making, like you said, and I don't know how many years Pat Mahomes was in the league before he got his first, but I think it would be kind of interesting to look at just how much time he's been in the league before he got a Super Bowl. I think it's been like second year, third year.
Yeah, I want to say it was was in 2020 is when they won their first Super Bowl against the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because I remember his rookie year he sat behind Alex Smith for the full season. The second year he starts and they lose to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
Okay.
It was crazy because Chris Jones, I think the defensive end for the Chiefs, was offsides. So he got the sack. Like
I remember
he
that.
sacked Tom Brady, and they would have gone to the Super Bowl because the Patriots would have I think it was fourth down if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But he was offside, so Tom Brady got another opportunity, and then you give Tom Brady a second chance, bro. You're cooked. So that was their second season, which I would assume was 2019. The Patriots go on to the Super Bowl, and then that next year is when they beat the Chiefs.
They won it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because Pat Mahomes.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of telling of where Dak could have been.
Yeah.
His first year was Romo, right, and then he took over the helm when Romo got hurt. The second year, which I think was 2016, something like that. But yeah, two similar paths, but in terms of like sophomore year, second year players, I don't like to put a whole lot of pressure on one player, but in football, I mean, quarterbacks, it matters.
And when you're the highest paid quarterback,
yes.
It's been 10 years. You haven't even made it to an NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Like, there's gonna be scrutiny.
Yeah.
Like you can't avoid it at that point. And like you said, there's other factors that go into it, and that's why I had mentioned earlier a lot of those losses, in my opinion, against the 49ers when it was back-to-back years that they lost to the 49ers. That was coaching. That was poor management of the situation. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you run 2-minute drills. How are you not understanding clock management right now? Yeah. So it was one of those things where, unfortunately, Dak, I agree. I think Dak is in a situation where he's not put in the best position to succeed. Like, Jerry doesn't bring in an Andy Reid to head coach the Cowboys, Yeah. He doesn't, Jerry doesn't have a general manager in place to handle negotiations and to develop these relationships and ultimately put the team in the best situation possible. Jerry's doing that himself.
Yeah.
And you would think after 30 years of
Losing
negligence and not doing a good job, you'd be like, maybe I'm not the guy for the job, But yeah. It's unfortunate. Like I said, we're both in a bad place because
pretty bad.
Yeah, because my Yankees are not. They're not doing any better. They're not doing any better. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm like, it was up until I want to say maybe last year when they lost in the World Series is when I think I finally like ripped the Band-Aid off. But before that, I felt like I would always tell people I'm that the Yankees are my toxic ex. Like whenever the season comes back, I always run back. I'm always there. Yeah. I'm always like, we're going to do this. Come on. Like another year, another opportunity. And then when they lost in the World Series last year, I was like, okay, I'm done. I was like, because this was such poor management of a series. I was like, Aaron Boone has to go. There's no way you bring him back. And Brian Cashman has to go. He's been there for 25 years. He's been there since the 90s. Like, this dude got to go. And it's like, okay, you're going to keep both of them? I'm done. I'm done. But
it's a hard day for a Yankees fan for sure.
It is. Yeah. It's a rough life out here. But
it is, man.
Yeah. But I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming.
I enjoyed it.